Mia stood on the sidewalk, staring up at the tall glass building in front of her. The sun was shining brightly, but inside her chest, a storm of feelings was growing: nervousness, hope, and a little bit of fear. This was the day she had been waiting for. The day she could change her life. Mia was not like the others who came to this interview. Her shoes were torn. The sides were worn out, and the soles had holes. They were old, and she had walked many miles in them. But Mia didn't care about the shoes. What mattered was what she could do: her skills, her heart, and her determination. The building looked big and shiny, with tall windows reflecting the blue sky. She felt small standing there, but she took a deep breath and walked inside. The door slid open, and Mia entered a large, modern lobby with bright lights and polished floors. A receptionist smiled at her. "Good morning. Are you here for the interview?" she asked. Mia nodded. "Yes, I am." "Great. Please have a seat. Someone will call your name soon." Mia sat down on a comfortable chair. Around her, other candidates were waiting too. They wore expensive suits, shiny shoes, and had neat hairstyles. Some were talking quietly, others checking their phones. Mia felt out of place. She looked down at her torn shoes and felt her cheeks warm with embarrassment. But then she reminded herself why she was here. She had worked hard to prepare for this moment. She had studied every night after her job at the coffee shop. She had saved every dollar to pay for the bus ticket and this chance to show her real talent. Minutes passed. The lobby was busy with people coming and going. Mia watched as one by one, names were called, and candidates disappeared behind big doors. Then, finally, her name was announced. "Mia, please come with me," said a young man in a dark suit. Mia stood up, smoothed her simple dress, and followed him down a long hallway. The walls were decorated with pictures of the company's history and its famous leaders. She tried to read the words, but her heart was pounding too loudly. When they reached a large room, she saw more candidates inside, sitting in rows. The air smelled like coffee and fresh paper. At the front, a man in a sharp suit was talking. This must be the CEO or the lead interviewer. The young man who brought Mia nodded and said, "Take a seat. The interview will begin shortly." Mia found an empty chair at the back and sat down. She noticed a few eyes turned toward her shoes again. Some faces looked surprised, some amused. She held her breath, feeling the weight of their silent judgment. A woman beside her whispered, "Did you see her shoes? How did she get here like that?" Another candidate laughed quietly, "Maybe she didn't get the memo about dressing properly." Mia's cheeks flushed, but she stayed quiet. She had heard similar things before, but she knew her worth was not in her shoes. The man at the front clapped his hands and said, "Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming today. We have many talented candidates, and we will see who is the best fit for our team." He spoke clearly and kindly, but Mia noticed he looked serious too. She watched as people straightened their backs and took out pens and papers. The first part of the interview was a group discussion. The candidates were divided into small teams to solve a problem together. Mia listened carefully. When it was her turn to speak, she shared her ideas with confidence. She talked about teamwork, about finding simple solutions, and about being honest. Some candidates nodded quietly, others whispered that her points were good. But a few still glanced at her torn shoes and smiled behind their hands. After the group discussion, there was a short break. Mia went outside to get some fresh air. The sun was warm on her face, and she closed her eyes for a moment. She thought about her family. Her mother worked 2 jobs to support them, and her little brother looked up to her. This job meant everything. It wasn't just about money. It was about proving that hard work and kindness mattered more than appearances. As she walked back inside, Mia noticed a poster on the wall. It had a quote from a famous American leader: "Success is not final, failure is not fatal, it is the courage to continue that counts." Mia smiled. She needed to hold on to that courage. The next part of the interview was one-on-one. Each candidate would meet the CEO in a separate room. Mia's turn was coming soon. She sat quietly, trying to calm her racing heart. When her name was called, she stood and walked toward the door. The man at the front smiled at her kindly. "Good luck, Mia." She nodded and entered the room. The CEO was a tall man with gray hair and warm eyes. He shook her hand firmly. "Please, have a seat," he said. Mia sat down and looked him in the eye. He began to ask questions about her experience, her goals, and her challenges. Mia spoke honestly about her past. She told him how she had worked at the coffee shop, how she had helped her family, and how she had saved to come here today. She did not hide the truth about her torn shoes. The CEO listened carefully, sometimes nodding. Then he asked, "What do you think makes you different from the others?" Mia thought for a moment and answered, "I believe that no matter where you come from or what you wear, your heart and your work show who you really are. I want to bring honesty and hard work to this company." The CEO smiled and said, "That is a good answer." After the interview, Mia walked out feeling a mix of relief and hope. She had done her best, and now all she could do was wait. Back in the lobby, some candidates were talking quietly. Mia overheard a few saying her name with surprise. "She spoke well," one said. Another said, "I didn't think she would get this far." Mia knew the journey was not over yet. There were many more candidates, and the competition was tough. But she had taken the first step. As she left the building, she looked down at her torn shoes again. They had carried her this far. Maybe soon, they would carry her even further. Mia smiled. The sun was still shining, and so was her hope. Mia woke up early the next morning, her heart still beating fast from the interview the day before. She felt proud. Despite her torn shoes and the quiet looks from others, she had made it through the first round. But deep inside, a small voice whispered doubts: did they really believe in her? She got ready and looked again at her old shoes. They were the same shoes she had worn every day for months. She wanted new ones, but money was tight, and she had other bills to pay. So, she decided to wear them again. They had carried her this far. Why stop now? Mia arrived at the building again, this time with a little more confidence. But when she stepped inside the waiting room, the atmosphere was different. The candidates looked more serious, some even colder. It was clear that the competition was growing stronger. As she took her seat, she noticed a group of candidates whispering and glancing at her shoes. One of them, a tall man with shiny shoes and a neat suit, whispered loudly enough for her to hear, "How can she even think she belongs here with those shoes?" Another candidate, a woman with carefully styled hair and bright makeup, giggled and said, "Maybe she doesn't know this is a professional interview." Mia's cheeks burned with embarrassment. She wanted to say something, but she knew it wouldn't help. Instead, she took a deep breath and reminded herself, "You are here because of your talent, not your shoes." The interview started again. This time, the group had to work on a project together. They were given a problem to solve: how to create a new plan for the company's community service. Each candidate was expected to share ideas and show leadership. Mia listened carefully to others. Some spoke quickly, trying to impress with big words. Others interrupted or tried to take control. Mia waited her turn, then quietly suggested an idea about involving local schools and small businesses. She talked about how people could work together to make a real difference. Some candidates looked surprised. "That's actually a good idea," one whispered. But others still gave her strange looks. During the break, Mia stood near the window, watching people walk outside. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from her mother: "We are proud of you. Keep going." Mia smiled and felt a warm wave of strength. Suddenly, she heard footsteps behind her. It was the tall man with the shiny shoes. He looked at her torn shoes again and said, "You really think you can get this job with those shoes? People judge by appearance, you know." Mia turned to him, steady and calm. "I believe people will remember how you work, not what you wear." He laughed softly. "Good luck with that." Mia didn't answer. She walked away, feeling stronger inside than before. The next part of the day was a personal interview with one of the managers. Mia waited nervously. When it was her turn, she went into a small room with a kind-looking woman named Miss Harris. Miss Harris smiled and asked about Mia's experience. Mia talked about her job at the coffee shop, the hard work she had done, and her dreams for the future. Miss Harris nodded. "You seem very determined, Mia. What is your biggest challenge?" Mia thought for a moment. "Sometimes, people judge me before they know me. My shoes, my clothes, they don't always look perfect. But I want to show that my work and my heart are what really matter." Miss Harris smiled warmly. "That is very true. It's important to be yourself and work hard." After the interview, Mia left the room feeling hopeful again. She knew this was not just about getting a job, it was about proving something to herself and to the world. As she walked back to the waiting area, she saw the CEO, Mr. Franklin, talking quietly with a few people. Their faces looked serious, but Mia noticed that he was listening carefully to one of the candidates. Her heart skipped a beat. She wondered what he thought of her. The afternoon passed slowly. Finally, the CEO stood and said, "We have many talented candidates today. We will call back the ones we want to continue with. Thank you all for your hard work." Mia stood with the others, waiting for the list to be posted. When she saw her name on the paper, she smiled with relief. She was still in the race. On the way out, a group of candidates blocked the door. One of them, the woman with the bright makeup, said loudly, "Maybe the CEO likes someone who looks different. But this isn't a fashion show." Another laughed. "Yeah, let's see how long she lasts." Mia took a deep breath and walked past them. She knew she couldn't control what others thought or said. She could only control her own heart and work. That evening, Mia sat on the small porch of her apartment. Her brother played nearby, laughing and chasing a ball. Her mother prepared dinner inside. Mia looked at her torn shoes beside the door. They were worn out and tired, just like she felt sometimes. But they had carried her through a hard journey. And they would carry her further. She promised herself, "I will not give up. I will show them all who I am." Mia woke up feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. The interview process had been tough so far, but she was still in the running. Out of dozens of candidates, she was one of the few left. That fact alone gave her hope. She put on her best dress, simple but neat, and slipped her old shoes back on. The worn soles felt comfortable now, like old friends who had been through so much together. Today was different. The next round would be a personal meeting with the CEO himself, Mr. Franklin. Mia had heard stories about him. He was a strict man, known for being fair but tough. Many said he could tell within minutes who would succeed and who would fail. Mia wasn't sure what to expect. She only knew one thing: she had to be herself. The building felt quieter than before. The other candidates looked serious, some reading notes, others practicing answers quietly. Mia found a seat and tried to steady her breath. After a while, a woman walked around calling names. "Mia, please come with me." Mia stood and followed her down a long corridor. The walls were lined with pictures of the company's founders and big moments in history. It felt like she was walking through a museum of success she wanted to be part of. They stopped outside a large glass door. The woman knocked gently and opened it. "Mr. Franklin is ready for you now." Mia stepped inside. The room was bright and neat. Behind a large wooden desk sat Mr. Franklin. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. When he smiled, it made the room feel warmer. "Please, have a seat, Mia," he said, motioning to the chair in front of him. Mia sat down, feeling her heart beat fast. Mr. Franklin looked at her quietly for a moment. "I've heard good things about you so far." Mia smiled shyly. "Thank you, sir." He nodded. "I like to start with a simple question. Tell me about yourself." Mia took a breath and began to speak. She talked about her life: the small apartment she shared with her mother and brother, the part-time job at the coffee shop, and her dream to work at a company where she could make a difference. "I know my shoes don't look perfect," she added softly, "but I believe my work and my heart are stronger than how I look." Mr. Franklin listened carefully. Then he leaned forward and asked, "What is one challenge you have faced, and how did you overcome it?" Mia thought of many challenges. But the one she chose was simple and true. "I once had to learn a new job very quickly. I was nervous, but I asked questions, watched carefully, and practiced every day. It wasn't easy, but I didn't give up." I believe that is important, to keep trying even when things are hard. Mr. Franklin smiled again. "That is very wise." The interview continued. He asked about Mia's goals, her ideas for the company, and how she worked with others. Mia answered honestly and with hope. At the end, Mr. Franklin said, "Thank you, Mia. I can see you have courage. Sometimes, courage is more important than experience." Mia stood up, feeling a mix of relief and pride. She thanked him and walked out of the room. As she returned to the waiting area, she saw the other candidates, some looking tired, others nervous. One man whispered to another, "I didn't expect her to do so well with Mr. Franklin." Another woman said quietly, "She has something special. You can see it." Mia sat down again, trying to calm her nerves. She knew this was not the end: there were still more tests and decisions to come. But for the first time, she felt a real chance. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. It was a message from her mother: "We believe in you. No matter what happens, you are already a winner." Mia smiled, feeling her heart grow warm. Later that afternoon, the CEO gathered the candidates who remained. He spoke to them about the company's vision and values. He said, "This company is not just about profits. It's about people. We want to help communities grow and make the world better." Mia listened carefully. She felt a strong connection to his words. This was exactly the kind of place she wanted to work. As the day ended, Mr. Franklin made an announcement. Tomorrow, we will begin the final round of interviews. I encourage you all to rest and be ready. Mia left the building with a light step. The journey was hard, but she was closer than ever. On the way home, she stopped by a small park. Children were playing, and families were enjoying the afternoon. Mia watched them, thinking of her own family and how much they had sacrificed for her. She looked down at her torn shoes. They were still old and worn, but today, they felt like a symbol of her courage, a courage that no one could take away. The next morning, Mia woke up with a flutter in her heart. This was the day she had dreamed of for so long, the final decision day. She dressed carefully, choosing the same simple dress she wore the day before. Her torn shoes were waiting by the door, old and worn, but still her trusted companions. She took a deep breath and stepped outside. The sky was clear, and the sunlight felt warm on her face. It was a fresh new day, full of possibilities. At the building, the atmosphere was quiet but full of tension. The candidates who remained looked serious. Some whispered to themselves, rehearsing answers. Others sat quietly, eyes focused on the floor or the ceiling, lost in their own thoughts. Mia found a seat and tried to keep calm. Her hands trembled slightly, but she told herself to breathe slowly. You have come this far, she thought. You can do this. Suddenly, the door opened, and the CEO, Mr. Franklin, entered the room. Everyone stood up out of respect. His presence filled the space, and his eyes scanned the room with kindness but also seriousness. Good morning, everyone, he said. Thank you for your hard work and patience throughout this process. Today, we will talk about what matters most to our company, not just skills or knowledge, but character and passion. Mia listened carefully. These words gave her hope. She knew that her courage and determination might finally be noticed. Mr. Franklin continued, we started with many candidates, but now only a few remain. Each of you has shown talent. But I am looking for something more. I want someone who will not only do the job but will also inspire others and help build a better future. Mia's heart beat faster. She hoped her story, her honesty, and even her torn shoes would show him that she was that person. One by one, the candidates were called forward to speak with Mr. Franklin. Mia watched as each person left the room, some confident, others nervous. When it was finally her turn, she stood and walked to the front. Mr. Franklin greeted her warmly. Mia, please have a seat. She sat down, looking into his eyes. I want to ask you one last question, he said. What does success mean to you? Mia thought for a moment. Then she spoke from her heart. Success is not just about money or a big title, she said. It is about staying true to yourself, working hard, and helping others along the way. Even when things are hard, success is the courage to keep going. Mr. Franklin nodded slowly. That is a powerful answer. Thank you. Mia smiled quietly, feeling a warm glow inside. After the last candidate had spoken, Mr. Franklin stood and said, we will take a short break and then announce the final decision. Mia sat back down, her hands folded in her lap. She looked around the room. Some faces were hopeful, others anxious. During the break, a few candidates approached Mia. The tall man with shiny shoes, who had mocked her earlier, walked over. I didn't think you'd make it this far, he said, looking at her shoes again. You surprised me. Mia smiled gently. Thank you. I believe everyone has something special to offer. He nodded, then walked away quietly. The break ended, and the candidates returned to their seats. Mr. Franklin walked to the front, holding a piece of paper. "Thank you all for your effort," he said. "After careful consideration, we have made our choice." Mia held her breath. "I am pleased to announce that Mia will be joining our team," he said with a warm smile. A quiet cheer rose from the room. Some candidates clapped softly. Mia's eyes filled with tears, not of sadness, but of joy and relief. Mr. Franklin continued, "Mia showed us courage, honesty, and passion. These are the qualities we value most." Mia stood, feeling the weight of the moment. She looked down at her torn shoes, the same shoes that had once made others laugh. Now, they were a symbol of her strength. As she walked toward Mr. Franklin to shake his hand, she felt proud not because of the job she had won, but because she had stayed true to herself. After the announcement, many candidates came up to Mia to congratulate her. Some apologized for their earlier words. Mia smiled and thanked them, feeling a new sense of confidence. When she left the building that day, the sun was setting, painting the sky with beautiful colors. Mia looked up and whispered, "Thank you." Her journey had not been easy, but it had been worth every step. As she walked home, Mia thought about her family. She would tell them the good news and promise to work hard every day. Her torn shoes had carried her to a new beginning, a beginning filled with hope, courage, and endless possibilities. The next morning, the sunlight poured gently through the small windows of Mia's apartment. The soft light fell on the worn floor and the simple furniture, but today everything felt brighter. Mia sat at the kitchen table, her heart full of excitement and nervousness. Today was her first day at the company. Her mother was already in the kitchen, preparing breakfast. When she saw Mia smiling, her eyes lit up. "So, today is the big day," her mother said softly. "I am so proud of you, Mia." Mia reached across the table and took her mother's hand. "Thank you, Mom. I couldn't have done this without you." Her little brother ran into the kitchen, his face full of curiosity and happiness. "Are you really going to work at the big company today?" he asked. Mia nodded. "Yes, I am. And I'm going to work very hard." After breakfast, Mia put on her best dress and carefully cleaned her shoes as best as she could. The torn parts were still there, but the shoes looked a little neater now. She took a deep breath and grabbed her bag. Her mother and brother walked her to the bus stop. As the bus approached, Mia looked back at her family. She smiled and waved, feeling a warm glow in her heart. The ride to the company was filled with thoughts. Mia thought about the challenges she might face, the people she would meet, and the work she would do. But mostly, she thought about the chance she had been given. When the bus stopped in front of the tall glass building, Mia stepped out and looked up at the shiny windows. Today, the building felt less intimidating and more like a place where dreams could come true. Inside, the lobby was busy with people in suits and uniforms. Mia walked toward the reception desk, trying to appear confident even though her heart was pounding. The receptionist smiled kindly. "Good morning. You must be Mia. Welcome to the team." Mia smiled back. "Thank you. I am excited to start." A young man named Daniel came to meet her. He was part of the human resources team and would be helping Mia during her first days. "Let me show you around," Daniel said. "We're happy to have you here." As they walked through the bright hallways, Mia noticed photos of the company's community work, happy employees, and special awards. She felt proud to be part of a company that cared about more than just business. Daniel introduced her to the team. Everyone was friendly and welcoming. Mia felt a little nervous but also happy to see warm smiles. Her first task was to help with a small project for a local school partnership. Mia listened carefully to instructions and began to work with focus and care. She asked questions, took notes, and shared her ideas when it felt right. Her teammates noticed her hard work and kindness. One of them, a woman named Sarah, said, "Mia, you have a fresh way of thinking. I'm glad you're here." Mia smiled, feeling grateful. "Thank you, Sarah. I want to learn as much as I can." The day went by quickly. Mia faced challenges but met them with determination. She remembered the words Mr. Franklin had said, "Courage is more important than experience." After work, Mia walked home slowly. The sun was setting, and the sky was painted with beautiful shades of pink and orange. She thought about the long journey she had made from the torn shoes and coffee shop to this moment of new beginnings. When she arrived home, her mother and brother were waiting. Her mother hugged her tightly. "How was your first day?" she asked. "It was hard, but good," Mia said. "I learned a lot and met nice people." Her brother smiled and said, "I want to work hard like you." Mia laughed softly. "You can do anything you want." That night, as Mia lay in bed, she thought about everything that had happened. The laughter she had faced because of her shoes, the doubts, the hard work, all of it had shaped her. She realized that success was not about what others thought but about believing in herself and never giving up. Days turned into weeks, and Mia grew stronger in her role. She worked on projects that helped communities, inspired her teammates, and earned respect. Her old shoes, though still worn, became a symbol of her courage. One afternoon, Mr. Franklin called Mia to his office. "Come in, Mia," he said with a smile. She entered nervously. "I want to thank you for your hard work," he said. "You have brought new energy to the company. I also heard about the project you helped with at the local school. That was excellent." Mia felt a warm glow inside. "Thank you, sir. I am happy to be here." Mr. Franklin continued, "Remember, it is not the clothes or shoes that make a person valuable. It is the heart and effort." Mia smiled, knowing those words were true. Months later, Mia stood before a group of young people at the local school. She was invited to speak about her journey. She told them how she had started with worn shoes but a big dream. She shared how important it was to believe in themselves, work hard, and be kind. The students listened closely, their eyes full of hope. After her speech, a young girl came up to Mia and said, "Thank you. You showed me that I can do anything." Mia smiled and knelt down. "You can, and you will." As Mia walked home that day, she thought about how far she had come. The journey was not easy, but it was worth every step. Her torn shoes had carried her through laughter, doubts, and challenges. But it was her heart, courage, and kindness that had made all the difference. Mia knew her story was just beginning. The future was bright, and she was ready.